It's often said that Taiwanese people are among the nicest people in the world.
Super nice people. They gave me a donut for free.
People are seriously friendly here.
But yeah, these people are treating me super nicely.
Everyone is saying it, but it's so true. They're so nice.
But after 17 years of living here, meeting all different kinds of people, and after an incredibly tragic story hit the news recently,
在台中市丰原区经传一家5口死亡命案。
I've learned that Taiwan, just like every other country, including my own country of the UK, has more than its fair share of bad apples, especially when it comes to scamming each other for money.
疑似遇上了黄金投资诈骗，欠下了巨额债务，最终走上绝路。
Yes, a local family of 5 scammed out of as much as 10 million NT by a fellow Taiwanese friend, causing the parents to take their lives along with their own 3 children as they couldn't see a way out. And this story has got everybody talking as to how nice Taiwanese people really are.
你们骗了这么多的受害者，这些受害者去自杀，影响了很多人的家庭。 你们是变相的杀人。
And of course, this is a very extreme case with a very tragic outcome, but it does lead me to say one thing that maybe is very controversial and has probably never been said on the internet before, but possibly not all Taiwanese people are as nice as we may have been led to believe. Yes, this recent terrible story out of my old hometown of Fongyuan, Taichung, is just one of the examples I'll be using today to show how Taiwanese people can use lies, violence, and sometimes downright hatred to scam other people out of their hard-earned money and disprove the myth that all Taiwanese people are the nicest on the planet. Bye, please don't hate me or leave me comments in the comment section down below. I'm just trying to show that Taiwan, just like any other country, has its fair share of bad apples, and to try and teach some newcomers to Taiwan that see this video not to be so naive and not to trust everybody just because you see online that Taiwanese people are so nice. There are indeed some bad apples that will try to scam you, a lot of which we will talk about today. Starting with scammers, especially seeing that Taiwan consistently ranks amongst one of the top countries in the world when it comes to online scams, telephone scams, and scams using line. But regardless of the method of scam, they all have one intention, and that's to get their hands on your money, or indeed the money of other Taiwanese people. And that's where the very tragic story that I mentioned earlier has its roots in money.
有好朋友来介绍你说可以有一个门路可以赚钱，通通不要，只要叫你把钱拿出来的都是诈骗。
Now, just to prove that this isn't a video all about bashing Taiwanese people, I want to share a story with you from 25 years ago when I was scammed by 3 of my fellow British countrymen. And as there was no video or photo evidence of this story, we're going to rely on our good old friend, ChatGPT. For images. So yes, in the short version of this story, I was 18, walking home to my dorm in my first week of university, when I was approached by 3 guys in a car offering to sell me a £2,000 laptop for £200. Oi mate, do you want this laptop for 200 quid? 200 quid? I'm pretty sure they're about £2,000. Yeah, I'll take it. Now, I didn't have £200 cash, so I accepted their generous offer to drive me to the ATM. Oh my goodness, £200 is such a bargain for this laptop. Yeah mate, it's totally not stolen. Whereupon checking my account, I found my student loan hadn't cleared and I couldn't withdraw any more money than the £50 I had in my wallet already. Now these 3 very kind gentlemen accepted my £50 for the laptop and handed it to me through the car window in a laptop bag. And after changing my clothes, hairstyle and ethnicity, I ran home with the laptop bag under my arm. I opened it up on my bed to find 2 bottles of very expensive French spring water. Of course, I was very disappointed but drowned my sorrows with the most expensive water I'd ever bought. So yes, there's my incredibly embarrassing scamming story from my life back in England, which obviously pales into insignificance when compared to the recent news story out of Fongyuan. And I have to say, I'm very lucky to have never actually been scammed in Taiwan, although I do have some examples of the not niceness of Taiwanese people that I'll get into a little bit later in the video. But first, it would be incredibly insensitive of me to make a video about the not niceness of Taiwanese people without acknowledging the super niceness that I've felt recently with regards to going public about my Parkinson's diagnosis. I'm determined not to bang on about it in every video, but the level of support and love and care that the Taiwanese people have shown me in the comment section, in the donations, in private messages was absolutely mind-blowing, and there's no other words for it other than a sincere Thank you. But let's talk scams. And if you look at this graph on the screen right now, you'll see that there is a wide variety of different scams that take place here in Taiwan. The most common by far are investment scams, very similar to the one that took place in Fengyan recently. But as I said, you can see there is such a wide variety of scams. But it's not the variety of scams that shocks me, it's the amount of times that it takes place in Taiwan. The CIB, the Criminal Investigation Bureau of Taiwan, reported almost 1,000 cases in May 2025 alone, with over 260 million NT being scammed in 1 month alone. That's 8.7 million US dollars lost to scammers in a month. And it's not surprising when you read such examples of one man sending 80,000 Taiwanese dollars for a verification fee on an app, and another example where one woman wired $293,000 to a doctor she met online for his urgent medical bills. The numbers involved in scamming in Taiwan, whether it's the frequency or occurrence of the number of scams or the amount of money that is being lost, is just insane. In fact, Taiwanese people lost approximately 239.5 billion Taiwanese dollars, that's 7.5 billion US dollars, to scammers during the year of 2024, which placed Taiwan 4th in a list of 13 Asian countries, behind countries such as Japan, Singapore, and South Korea, with an average loss of 1,940 US dollars per victim, which represents a 67.7% increase on the previous year. Scams are getting worse and the price is going up. Now, a lot of people may victim blame, saying that it's the victim's fault for being so naive and falling for such an obvious scam, but thousands of people are falling for these scams every month, and the victim rate is getting younger and younger. It's not just old people that are falling victim to these scams. So the question is, should the government be doing more to highlight the awareness of scams? And indeed, should they be imposing heavier penalties when people are found guilty of scamming other Taiwanese people? Well, actually, Taiwan's government is working hard to combat fraud and scams, but many people feel that it's not enough, especially with the rising number of victims each year and the evolving nature of fraud tactics. The first thing the police did was task the National Police Agency and cybercrime units with setting up special task forces dedicated to fighting this type of online telecom fraud, as well as increasing the number of raids on local scam call centers, as well as some other scam call centers that are overseas in other Southeast Asian countries, but run and operated by Taiwanese people. The government have also set up an awareness campaign, paying for YouTube ads, TV ads, line notifications, and government press releases in order to educate people on the various scam tactics, as well as setting up AI chatbots on social media where they can educate the vulnerable and the elderly on various scam tactics. And another thing they've done is introduce the 165 anti-fraud hotline where people can call and report suspicious calls or texts. And as well as this, legal reforms in 2023 and 2024 had laws passed that actually increased the minimum sentences and expanded the definitions of fraud, which gave the government more powers to prosecute scammers from overseas that target Taiwanese victims. And in one particular example from 2023, one man was found guilty of running a romance scam fraud that cost victims as much as 10 million NT. He was found guilty and sentenced to 12 years in prison, $2 million fine, and all of his assets were seized. So I think that's enough about scams for now, and I really hope something can be done to prevent Taiwan becoming more and more famous, being one of the scam capitals of the world. And if you have your own story regarding being scammed, then share it down below so maybe some others can learn from your experience. But as for now, time to get into some of those other things that I mentioned to prove that maybe Taiwanese people are not all as nice as the internet says they are. So the first example I'm going to talk about of Taiwanese people being not so nice outside of the scam world is that elder abuse is on the rise in Taiwan. In fact, between 2018 and 2022, cases increased from 17,000 per year to 22,000 per year. That's a 30% increase year on year. And over 55% of perpetrators were direct relatives of the victim, usually their own children or their children-in-laws, with 40% involving psychological abuse and 30% involving actual physical harm to the victim. Now, of course, this isn't just a Taiwanese problem and happens all over the world, but my theory is that because of Taiwan's unique culture, where elderly grandparents stay at home rather than being shipped off to a nursing home as we would do back in the West, I can see how it's much more likely to happen in a Taiwanese home. I'm not justifying it, but I can definitely see how living at home with an elderly grandparent can push people past their limit and to do things that maybe they regret. The next example of Taiwanese people showing their not so niceness to the world is when it comes to political brawls in parliament and the legislative yuan.
为了阻挡苏贞昌上台，国民党立委拿出猪内脏大肆攻击。
The most famous of which happened in 2020, known as the pig guts fight, when lawmakers were found to be throwing pig guts all across Parliament or the legislative yuan, when the KMT were not so happy with the DPP's decision to introduce a certain type of pork to the market. Things got a little bit crazy and definitely shows people being not so nice here in Taiwan. Another example of Taiwanese people being not so nice is when it comes to the roads. Road rage is rife here in Taiwan. In the streets as pedestrians, Taiwanese people are incredibly polite and nice, but get them behind the wheel of a car and their personality will change dramatically. Another incredibly tragic but very famous case recently involved an elderly gentleman losing control behind the wheel, driving at up to 70, 80 kilometers an hour, intending to hit his victim on a scooter, but inadvertently hit some students on a pedestrian crossing, killing 3 people. Again, an extreme case that doesn't happen very often, but just highlights how Taiwanese people can be incredibly not so nice when they get behind the wheel of a car, as can we all. As with everything I'm talking about today, this is not specific to Taiwan. It does happen across the world, but I really want to highlight that Taiwan, just like any other country, has its not so nice people. Another condition that Taiwanese people suffer from, that everyone around the world is suffering from more and more, is bypasser syndrome. And by that I mean when they see an accident or someone in need of help, they're more than likely going to walk past and ignore that person. This is also due to something else that I think Taiwanese people are not so nice when it comes to litigiousness. Taiwanese people are very happy to sue you for the smallest thing, the smallest infringement or accident or public slander. But on the other hand of that, they're also very afraid and aware of the possibility of being sued by someone that you just intend to help. I've seen many scooter accidents where people have just driven past, ignored the person that's lying on the floor just because it's someone else's problem. Gamble to pieces, I don't have to deal with this, and I don't want to cause someone more harm than good. So if possible to ignore it, Taiwanese people will just ignore someone in need of help. And yes, I know you're going to scold me in the comment section saying that not everybody is the same. You can't tar everybody with the same brush. Of course, there are very many good people in Taiwan that would help others, that would go out of their way to assist. But I've definitely seen examples of the opposite, where people just ignore people in need for fear of being sued. And the final point I'm going to raise when it comes to talking about the not niceness of Taiwanese people is going to be very applicable for this video, because I'm sure I'm going to receive a lot of hate, criticism and scolding in the comment section, and that's when it comes to Taiwanese people and their online activity regarding social keyboard warriors, swamming, haters, whatever you want to call it. Some Taiwanese people are very good at criticizing others online from the comforts of their own home. Just take a look at the comment section down below and see how nice you think some of the people are in the comment section. Yes, there will be people supporting me, agreeing with me, backing me up on many of my points, but there will be some unreasonable people that cannot see what I'm trying to do here, cannot see that I'm just trying to let people see not to be so naive, not to be so trusting when it comes to blindly doing what other Taiwanese people say or ask you to do. Haters are gonna hate, and Taiwanese people, just like every other country, has its own fair share of haters and online social keyboard warriors. And that's going to bring me to my final request, which is for you to comment down below with your thoughts on this video. I've been told by many of my friends, don't make this video, bad idea, Taiwanese people won't like it, but I'm sure the majority of Taiwanese people will understand what I'm trying to say. And just to show the world that there are people in Taiwan that will take advantage of you, want to hurt you, want to harm you, so just to be a little bit more careful and not so trusting of everybody that comes into your life. Video over, I've had my say. If you want to see some videos of where I talk nicely about Taiwanese people, there's hundreds of those on my channel, so go check it out. But I think that's enough for today. If you've made it to the end of this video without seething with anger at me, then congratulations, we're on the same page. But I think it's time to say goodbye. So as for now and as always, I'll see you next time in My Life in Taiwan. Peace, bye-bye.